let's finish up the face and work on hair. So just let's give a little more detailing to the features of the face, and then see what we can do about the hair. This is maybe too high level, and too much contrast is actually maybe not good in this case, because contrast gives to the face femininity. So we have to be careful with contrast. Contrast makes us looking beautiful. Actually, it is interesting that if person is sick, so when you get sick, when you get ill, your face loses contrast. So that's another thing that we subconsciously reading from the face. So less contrast means person is not healthy. So on one hand, you don't want to give too much contrast because it gives like this feminine look, but on the other hand, do not enough contrast gives face unhealthy look. You want to find some kind of like a compromise in terms of contrast. You don't want to give too much of it, and also not too less of the contrast. But again, this strongness of the forms you can make with some kind of like planar shapes, some block out. If you give like the planes, it gives more contrast to the face. So when you give contrast, you want to make sure that you don't give too much, not too less. Here there is this edge here, like in anatomy part. We will talk about this part more. So there's a little sharp line here. Basically this it's called the facet of the nose. Basically this facet of the nose, it marks the edge of the cartilage opening versus the skin opening. Basically the skin sits on top of the cartilage, and the cartilage has the opening of the nose is wider in the cartilage, and on the skin this opening is less. It's more narrow. And if we talk about this part, it's called columella. You want to make it, there is like a thin, and then there's this kind of like a breaking point here. I'm going to show you. That's the place where cartilage meets, the fibrofatty tissue, basically this wing of the nose. It's another like subject. Basically, we need to cover it in. You can find the information and good pictures about this in my book called Form of the Head and Neck. There's a little bit more about like the nose and the shapes and anatomy of the nose and things like that. And also I'm going to cover it in my videos. But yes, in the Form of the Head and Neck book is actually the most of the subjects that I'm talking here, they are pretty much covered in those books. So if I don't have time to go very deep in anatomy here because I'm sculpting, then in those books, if you have those books by next by you, you can always just follow the subject, basically understand what I mean just by looking in the book. Also a book called Anatomy of Facial Expression that tells a little bit more about like the facial expressions of the head. And the book Anatomy for Sculptors book, that's my first one. That's more about like the whole body. So I'm going to make a little more like a sculptural, look. It's not a realistic. So I'm not going to go very much into the details. So see the eyebrows is also, nowadays if you sculpt, you can make like a realistic eyebrows and eyelashes and hair. But in a classical sculpture, you don't have these options to sculpt every individual hair. So that's why you kind of use more like an illusion of the hair by putting some clay. And of course, if you work with the clay, you cannot make like realistic eyebrow look or something. So you have to find some sort of like a, technique that kind of gives this illusion of the particular structure. You don't want to sculpt every individual like eyelash or hair, just because it does makes it look very unprofessional. So you want to sculpt like the main shapes, and then you can give a little kind of individual fibers, individual strands of the hair. but you don't want to sculpt every little hair, because that makes it looks very too detailed. So you don't want to do that, because if you sculpt with the clay, you don't make individual lines that present basically, that represents every single like cilia or hair, because if you want to make individual hairs, you use the like 3D programs that can simulate hair. But if you sculpt like classically, you just need to find out like the main masses of the hair, and I'm going to tell it in a future in the next or one of the videos, upcoming videos, when we sculpt hair. Then I will explain you a little bit more about like how to sculpt the hair. This moment, actually, we've reached the moment when we want to give some asymmetry to the head, because as I mentioned, if you make it too symmetric, it gives this uncanny valley feeling. So you want to get rid of this symmetry, because in reality there's no such thing as like fully symmetric face. It's like too much symmetry makes it like a doll-like, or just kind of like a fake looking. So like especially in the places where left and right side of the face meets, you don't want to be completely symmetric. So for that reason, I think we need to merge the layers together, because otherwise it's not going to be. So I'm gonna save first, and then I will merge those layers together so I can stretch them. So if you merge them together, you want to look how many subdivision layers you have, because it will pick the lowest one. For instance, this have like 5 subdivision levels here, and the eyeballs are also 5. So if you merge them, these subdivision count will stay the same, the level count. But if you, for instance, if I have my like 2 subdivision levels for the eyeballs and 5 for the head, then at the end of the day I will get only 2 subdivision levels. It's not enough. But anyway, before you do these kind of like very important changes, you want to make sure that you save the file either with a quick save or with just like a proper saving. Okay, let's go to the merge, and let's merge down the layers. Okay, I need to push it into one group, and then I have this option to merge down. Okay. Okay, now it's like one object. The eyeballs are not separate, but because I don't dynamesh, then I still have the option to separate them as they were before. Okay, let's try to break this symmetry curse. Usually one side of the face is wider than the other, and if you are right-handed, usually the right side of the face is wider. And it also applies not only on the face, but also applies to the whole body. So basically, if you're right-handed, then the whole right side of the body will be a little wider. So we take the like move brush, like a really big one, and turn off the symmetry. So now we don't have symmetry. This is the right side, and let's do a little adjustment. Let's take a move tool, like a very big brush, and just do a little change. So basically now we broke the symmetry. You can see it as just tiny little bit. And let's give maybe an angle to the mouth a little different. Okay, maybe it's too much, just a little less. And now what we want to do, we want to take the brush and fix this meeting point basically near the center. So let's say the eyebrows, we need to just adjust the eyebrows a little bit different patterns, so they don't they are not the same, the eyebrow patterns, just a little difference here. So they are not exactly, because they are so close, the left and right side is so close in this area, so you want to make sure that they are totally different when it goes close to the central line. Those 11s, those wrinkles called 11s, created by corrugator supercilly, and I'm talking about these wrinkles in my Anatomy Facial Expression book. That's my second book. So here I'm not going to spend so much time on explaining the anatomy of the of the wrinkles, but it is a very interesting subject because every wrinkle has its own like a very strict logic behind and physiology. So basically, every wrinkle of the face has its own muscle or muscle group underneath that is responsible for these kind of wrinkles. Okay, so the guy is young, so we don't want to, make too much of the wrinkling. Anyway, the symmetry is a little broken. That's good, and it's time to do this little detailing now. And after we're done with the detailing, the next step will be the creating the sculpted hair. And again, it's not going to be like every individual hair. It's not going to be super realistic hair. It's going to be like the sculpture, classical sculpture, hair. So basically, the way how you would sculpt if you would sculpt with the real clay. The philtrum. Okay, I need to go a little bit lower. The philtrum columns. The philtrum columns, they are actually approaching the nostril, and it goes by the nostrils, by the septal wall. So basically, this philtrum column, this structure, it enters the nostril very subtly. So it's not very strong. The forms are not strong. So basically, here the columella is more narrow. Then there is a little bump here, and then it goes again. It's almost like a kidney shape. The nostril has some kind of like a kidney shape because of the philtrum column that enters the nostril. A little darkness here, as it's very shallow now. Well, we don't want to make it like a super deep, because otherwise the geometry will be very much broken, because then we need to dynamish it again, and maybe we will dynamish, but anyway, we want to avoid the dynamishing as much as it's possible. Okay, and now it's time to sculpt the hair.